Lord Teverson, you're going to chair the new Lords Ad Hoc Committee on the Arctic. First of all, could you explain to us how Ad Hoc Committee is different from other select committees and what impact this will have on your work?
Well, it's an innovation in the House of Lords, started last year, and the House of Lords is able to do things newly and freshly, and one of the things that it decided was important was not just to have standing committees that looked at the same subject or the same area all the time, but to really have the opportunity to concentrate on areas that were important at the moment. And the Arctic is one of those, and so we're set up for 1 year. We have to finish effectively because there's a general election next year by the beginning of March. So we have a very specific time in which we do our work in terms of our inquiry and then our recommendations and trying to get the government to take notice of those. And then after that, the committee ceases to exist. But our challenge as parliamentarians after that is to make sure that that agenda is not forgotten.
And of course, the Arctic is a huge area, both geographically and figuratively, lots of issues you could consider. So what are the kind of things the committee will look at?
Well, the great thing about this study on the Arctic is that the issues are broad and they're all important. They're based obviously around the environment, the fact that global warming is happening, that the ice sheet in the Arctic is getting smaller at a faster rate than anybody expected it to, and that leads to all sorts of threats and opportunities as well. The threats are to the ecology, whether it's being able to fish out stocks, pollution, all the security issues that there are around opening up areas that the international community can get to that weren't there before, to indigenous people and how they're going to react and whether their lifestyles are threatened, through to the opportunities of much shorter shipping routes across the Arctic and cutting thousands of miles off existing routes, the mineral exploitation that could take place. That can be bad, that can be good in terms of future economy. There's a whole raft of issues there, and we've got to try to come to conclusions, to look at this in a way that's manageable and handleable, so that we can say to not just the United Kingdom government, not only our own government, but also to other organisations that we're members of internationally, whether it's UN, NATO, the European Union, the Arctic Council itself, where we're an observer, to say these are the sort of things that we think are really important for the future agenda, to make sure that this is managed globally in the right way, and Britain makes its contribution.
That's an interesting point, because some people may question why the UK Parliament wants to look at the Arctic. Of course, we're not an Arctic nation. What do you think that your committee can bring to this?
Well, we have lots of interest in what happens in that region. Yes, we're not one of the members of the Arctic Council, which includes countries like Denmark, Greenland, Canada, Russian Federation, Finland and others. But we have a great interest there, partly because of the environmental effects and everything that happens there, because we're a trading nation. We have how shipping routes and all of that sort of side works is very important to us, but also the security issues. A lot of the members of the Arctic Council and the states that surround it will have all sorts of security and governance issues. How does it work in terms of the law of the sea? How does it work in terms of who's entitled to take which resources where? All of that is an international issue which affects a trading and an important economic player in the world that we are too. The interesting thing to me is that some of the other countries that have taken particular interest in the region and have become also members or observers of the Arctic Council are Asian countries like Singapore. They are important traders in the world. They see it as important to them. It's certainly important to us as the United Kingdom.
It sounds like fascinating stuff, and I'm sure lots of people will want to know more about it. How can people keep up to date with the committee and also get involved with the inquiry?
Well, like all House of Lords committees now, we have an active web page. We will be there on Twitter as well. But the most important thing that we will be doing is putting out a request for evidence. And yes, that can be everything from academics to nation states, but it also should be individuals that have interests in the region, have perhaps their own research, their own opinions, whether it be for everything from polar bears to whether we should have a defence strengthening for NATO in the area. Right across that, people will then be able to contribute, and we'll be putting out a call for evidence in the next few weeks.